12 spine-chilling New York encounters, discover the sinister and haunted secrets of the city. Sarah's heart raced as she stepped out of the subway, the night's bustle somehow feeling more ominous than usual. The damp air clung to her skin, an icy reminder of the abandoned hospital looming down the street. Night after night, she fought through the ghostly memories tangled within those walls, her role as a nurse entwined with whispers of lost souls. Each shift deepened the shadows under her eyes, yet she soldiered on, determined to provide for her 10-year-old daughter, Mia. But on this night, under the relentless flicker of streetlights, the city felt raw, awakened. "Did you hear about the woman?" A passerby whispered, her voice a shuddering breath against the night. "They say she vanished near the old hospital. No one dares go there after dark." The hair on Sarah's arms prickled. She tightened her grip on her bag, glancing back as something skittered behind her, a shadow slipping into the darkness. The wind howled like the tormented cries that seemed to echo from within the hospital's crumbling walls. Each night, as Mia tucked herself under the covers, innocent dreams colored in bright shades, Sarah lay awake, haunted by the secrets hidden in that place. It started as harmless trivialities, a whisper of ghost stories to ignite Mia's imagination, until Mia began discovering notes, "Help us," and "Remember," each scribbled word like a blood-red warning. They appeared in cereal boxes, under dinner plates, and once, slipped into Sarah's old sneakers. Another reminder that something sinister lingered, just beneath the surface. "Mom, look!" Mia would say, her eyes sparkling with wonder, but for Sarah, a chill settled deep, twisting her heart. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The notes piled up, shadows whispering truths that Sarah buried deep. Tales of corrupt officials lurking, ready to bury secrets anew. It felt more like fiction but hit like reality. Her heart thumped loudly as she took the train home one night, the sensation of being closely followed clawing at her sanity. The flickering lights overhead seemed to leap to life, mocking her with their erratic luminosity. Then came the cold chill, an intangible presence creeping up her spine. "Sarah? It couldn't be." A voice filtered through the chaos, familiar yet shattered. Her heart dropped. No way. Shoving through the crowd, panic rose like bile in her throat. She darted into an alley, desperate to steal a breath, to reweave the fabric of this nightmarish reality. When she turned to face the darkness, the silhouette loomed behind her. Was it him? Her heart thundered as fear flooded her senses. Sarah's hand trembled on the wall, gripping the roughened bricks as she cast a glance over her shoulder. There was no one there. But what if? As her mind raced through tortured thoughts, she knew she was cornered. The hospital's secrets intertwined with her own. She had to unravel the truth. But at what cost? The silence deafened. All she heard was the heartbeat of the city and the chilling whisper of shadows lifting, revealing the haunting reality might be worse than she ever imagined. Sarah bolted from the alley, her mind chaos, each breath raw against her throat. She moved instinctively toward the hospital, the place she had tried to escape from time and again, but it beckoned like a siren's call. Was it the shadows that taunted her? Or a deeper thirst to unveil the horrors lurking behind its doors? The entrance loomed larger with every step, its peeling paint whispering forgotten stories. Flickering lights buzzed overhead, mirroring her heartbeat, wild and unstable. It felt like stepping into a heartless abyss. She hesitated, staring at the gaping maw of the door. But the way Mia's innocent laughter twisted in her ears made Sarah swallow her fear. What her daughter might face, knowing they were drawn here. With a deep breath, she pushed through the door, the rusted hinges creaking like the groans of a long-suffering beast awakened from slumber. Inside, the familiar scent of antiseptic mixed with neglect assaulted her senses. Shadows clung to the corners, and the silence felt heavy, layer upon layer of history smothering her. "Hello." Her own voice sounded foreign, swallowed by the oppressive air. Echoes faded, leaving an unsettling stillness behind. Her heart thudded painfully against her ribs. Sarah moved cautiously, guided by the flashlight on her phone, its beam flickering against cracked walls stained with age. She knew this place like the back of her hand, the surgical rooms where lives were saved and lost, the waiting area that once buzzed with anxious family members now lay still, littered with dust. With every step, dread accompanied her like a specter, feeding her uncertainty. Then, just ahead, something glinted on the floor. Sarah approached, kneeling to find a locket, tarnished but familiar. A chill shot through her veins. Was this Mia's? It had slipped from her neck just days before. Panic surged, intensifying her fear. "Please," she whispered to the echoes around her. "Show me what you want." The air thickened with tension, a spiraling darkness wrapping around her. And then, faintly, a child's laughter emerged from the depths of the hospital. It echoed hauntingly off the walls, the sound slicing through the still air. Was it Mia? Her instincts screamed to run, but something deeper compelled her to chase after the fleeting sound. Heart hammering, Sarah darted through the labyrinth of corridors. The laughter was enchanting, luring her closer and closer, with each turn steeped in dread. She could almost taste the fear, thick and metallic, as if she were breathing in the memories of all who had suffered here. Suddenly, she stumbled into the surgical wing, the realm of life and death, her past now intertwined with shadows. The laughter echoed again, a cruel reminder that not all rested in peace. In the center of the room, a silhouette moved, a fleeting glimpse, before it vanished through a doorway that groaned in protest. "Wait!" she shouted, desperation rising with urgency. But silence swallowed her plea. Gripped by both panic and a flicker of courage, Sarah moved toward the door, every instinct screaming at her to turn back. She hesitated just long enough for the weight of her choice to settle the revelations, the chaos, and the cost. Would she find Mia? Would she uncover the truths buried beneath the hospital's layers of sorrow, or only unravel her own spine-chilling nightmares? As she stepped further into the abyss, a voice echoed in the stillness, cold and sharp as glass. "You should have left it alone." The air thickened. Sarah felt it, something ancient and malignant stirring. Her heart dropped as the laughter faded, the darkness welcomed her. What awaited her in that shadowy corner? And what price would she pay to unveil the city's sinister secrets? The door swung open with a reluctant creak, revealing a dimly lit corridor shrouded in shadows. The sickly smell of decay clawed at Sarah's throat, making her stomach churn. She weighed the choice of retreat against the desperate need to find her daughter. Mia's laughter lingered faintly, still, a promise and a curse. "Keep moving," she murmured to herself, the words barely escaping her lips. The flashlight trembled in her grip, its flickering light revealing peeling wallpaper that seemed to pulse with the memories of those who had once inhabited this space. Sarah stepped cautiously down the corridor, heart racing. Each footfall echoed like a warning shot, vibrating through the silence like a heartbeat. The laughter. It shimmered off the walls, weaving in and out, leading her deeper into the belly of the hospital. "Stop it," she whispered urgently, squeezing her eyes shut for a brief moment, trying to drown out the sound. It intensified, filling the space with a wicked energy as if the very air was alive with malevolence. Without warning, the laughter shifted, morphing into a wail that pierced her heart. The shift shattered her confidence, sending her pulse into overdrive. She turned left, driven by instinct, toward the source that now throbbed like an open wound. The corridor opened up into a room that could have been a children's ward once, though now it was a mausoleum of toys left to rot. Rusty beds were strewn carelessly, giving off the hollow groans of forgotten stories. Stuffed animals littered the floor, their glassy eyes gleaming with a life of their own. "Mia!" Sarah called, her voice echoing back in a pitiful mockery. She hesitated, scanning the room with a mix of dread and hope. She felt watched not just by the shadows, but by something more dangerous. Then, there it was again, a voice, soft and enticing. "Mommy," it echoed through the suffocating silence, wrapping around her like a vice. Sarah felt a surge of adrenaline, a rush that filled her with both hope and dread. "Mia!" she shouted, panic rising. She started forward, but her foot caught on the remnants of a broken toy. She stumbled, crashing to the floor. The sudden silence felt deafening. As she regained her balance, she noticed a frayed rope hanging from one of the beds. Was it a noose? The dark history of the place began to unravel in her mind, every thought tainted with the weight of despair. She quickly pushed the thought aside and moved toward the door hidden behind a heavy curtain. Cautiously, she pulled the curtain back, revealing a small, dark room. Her light trembled over the walls, casting eerie shadows. But as she aimed the beam into the corner, her breath caught in her throat. It was a mural, an illustration of families playing, laughter etched in their faces, now obscured by dirt and grime. But at the center lay a grinning figure, too familiar. It painted a picture of twisted glee, a jarring mockery of happiness. Her heart raced as she realized the figure bore an unsettling resemblance to her daughter. The laughter echoed around her like a sinister laugh track, mocking her presence. She backed away slowly, an instinctual dread coiling in her gut. "Leave now." The voice hissed again, sharp as shattered glass. "You've awoken what should rest." Sarah turned, sprinting through the doorway she had come through, fear propelling her forward. But the walls closed in, shadows reached for her, and the laughter turned into screams, desperate cries that mixed with the whispers of the damned. Just as she neared the exit, the door slammed shut in front of her. Dark shapes loomed ahead, blocking her escape. "What do you want?" she cried, desperation coursing through her veins. A cold wind whipped through the room, and she suddenly remembered the locket clutched in her hand, the last connection to her daughter. Where was Mia? The shadows shifted, revealing a small door she hadn't noticed before, slightly ajar. A shimmer of light glowed from within. She swallowed hard, stepping closer, uncertainty swirling in her mind. What lay beyond that door? Would she find Mia waiting there? Or was it another trap set by the relentless shadows that haunted the hospital? Gritting her teeth, Sarah pushed the door the rest of the way open, the creaking hinges echoing ominously in the silence. The tiny room that greeted her was bathed in a strange glow. The source was a frail lantern sitting on a makeshift table, its flickering light revealing an unimaginable sight. The walls were covered in photographs, dozens upon dozens of family portraits, but they were all wrong. Each face wore a forced smile, eyes hollow and void of life, as if they were waiting for something that would never come. This was no ordinary shrine. Upon closer inspection, Sarah noted the way the eyes in the photographs followed her, a haunting tableau that pulled at her sanity. "Mia!" she called, her voice barely above a whisper, but the echo of her plea faded into the dead air. She took a hesitant step inside, the dusty floor creaking beneath her. The murmurs grew louder in the air, a cacophony of sorrow and despair. Suddenly, the lantern flickered violently before bursting into a shower of sparks, plunging the room into darkness. Panic surged through her like icy water. "No, no, no!" she gasped, fumbling for the flashlight still clutched in her hand. The beam of light sliced through the darkness, illuminating more unsettling revelations. In the corners of the room, small dolls, the same rusty, decaying toys as in the children's ward, sat motionless, eerily arranged in a circle. Their eyes seemed to glimmer, alive with malice. Sarah's heart pounded wildly. She stepped back, but the moment she did, a heavy thud sounded from behind her. The door slammed shut with a deafening finality. A shadow passed her peripheral vision, a movement, quick and fleeting. She aimed the flashlight toward the sound, but there was nothing. Just emptiness. "Mommy!" The voice of her daughter pierced through the silence once more, clearer now, almost near. Sarah spun around, breath catching in her throat. "Mia, where are you?" Hope wrestled with fear as she felt the edges of her sanity fray. The voice repeated, sweeter now, beckoning her toward a hidden alcove behind the dolls. Sweat trickled down her back as she approached, hesitating. Could it be a trap? Or worse, a way to lure her into the same abyss that had claimed others? Help me, Mommy compelled. She pressed forward, hands shaking as she reached for the wall. The dolls seemed to turn their heads, and the ambient whispers crescendoed into a grotesque symphony. Shadows flickered and danced around her, twisting and clawing at her resolve. Gritting her teeth against the terror, she pushed aside an old curtain to reveal a small doorway, almost child-sized. Just beyond it, a faint light pulsed rhythmically, throbbing like a heartbeat. She inhaled deeply, dread and courage battling within her. Please. Mia's voice rang with urgency. I'm over here. But just as she took a step toward the light, a chilling gust swept through the room, blowing out her flashlight. Darkness swallowed her whole, thick and suffocating. Not yet, a dark whisper hissed in her ear, as icy fingers brushed against her skin, and she lost her footing. The world spun, and she was falling. She slammed against the ground, hard, the breath knocked from her lungs. Gasping, she forced herself upright. The light flickered back to life. She was not alone now. Terrifying shapes emerged, swirling around her like wraiths, their voices mingling in a twisted chorus. Mommy! They all cried in unison, their hands reaching. Join us, stay forever. The fear gripped her, a vice around her chest. Sarah staggered backward, her heart racing as she felt the cold presence closing in. What do you want? She screamed, the walls trembling at her terror. Amid the cacophony of voices, a singular tone pierced through a soft, innocent giggle that was all too familiar. Mia the wraith seemed to pause, and a singular figure emerged from the shadows, clad in white, hair tangled and disheveled. Mama, help me! Sarah's breath caught. Was this real? Or just another cruel joke played by the spirits of this place? Was she truly seeing her daughter? Before she could answer, the light began to dim again, a sinister grinning figure emerging behind Mia. Then, it spoke in a low, rasping whisper that chilled Sarah to her core. You should have left while you had the chance. In that moment, the true terror of the hospital began to unfold before her eyes, and she realized, the shadows hadn't just awakened from sleep. They were hungry for souls like hers. Could she save Mia from whatever twisted fate awaited them, or was this place destined to be their grave? The terrible laughter echoed through the chamber, wrapping around Sarah like a fog, thick and stifling. Her heart raced as the sinister figure loomed over Mia, nearly swallowing her in its shadow. She could feel the darkness crawling up her spine, as the walls whispered secrets only the damned could hear. Mia! She screamed, desperation spilling from her lips as she lunged towards her daughter, but the wraiths surged forward, a writhing mass of anguish and sorrow. Each movement appeared choreographed by despair, their hands outstretched, seeking her warmth. Get away from her! As if responding to her command, the figure turned toward Sarah. Its face was a contorted mockery of a human's, stretching into an impossibly wide grin that revealed jagged teeth. You are in our domain now, love. You've come searching for her, but you'll find her here forever, it crooned, the voice dragging like a rusty blade. No. I won't let that happen. Sarah's voice trembled as she caught a glimpse of Mia's pleading eyes, glossy with fear. We're getting out of here, sweetheart. The light flickered again, losing its battle against the oppressive darkness. In desperate determination, Sarah surged forward, instinct pushing her toward Mia even as the wraiths pulled at her. Their icy fingers brushed against her skin, leaving trails of frost that tightened around her throat. Mommy! Mia's voice echoed softly, a painful contrast to the chaos, urging Sarah onwards. Please don't leave me. With a fierce cry, Sarah tore through the throng of wraiths, the coldness gnawing at her, but her love for Mia burned hotter. The darkness seemed to fight back, coiling around her like vines. Just as she reached Mia, the great figure lunged, arms reaching out like hungry monsters. Join us! They all screamed. Stay, Sarah, stay! In the chaos, Sarah grabbed Mia's hand. The moment felt electric, a spark of warmth amidst the biting chill. We're leaving. But the exit, that little doorway shadowed behind the dolls, had vanished, replaced by a solid wall, the very place she'd just stepped through now sealed. Panic surged through her veins. No, no. This can't be happening. Mama. Mia whimpered, her voice quaking with fear. The figure howled, its malevolence rising like a tidal wave, crashing against Sarah. You cannot escape. This place hungers. You belong to us now. Gritting her teeth, Sarah focused, shoving the darkness away as desperation fueled her strength. She turned to the circle of dolls, each one watching, eyes glimmering in the half-light, like tiny stars in a blackened sky. You don't want her. You want me. Around her, the wraiths hesitated, their sinister grip slightly freeing as they looked at the dolls. Had she found a sliver of hope? Yes, embrace the darkness, run to it, they purred, voices entwining in a sordid lullaby. Mia trembled beside her, but Sarah held on to her with fierce resolve. Her heart raced, a battle drum urging her forward. She began to take steps toward the dolls, whispering into the shadows, "Leave her be. Take me instead." The momentum shifted. The wraith's grip slackened just enough for Sarah to feel a faint flicker of light behind her, pulsing like a heartbeat. Drawing Mia close, she took a chance. The circle of dolls quivered as if waiting for their moment. Now! Sarah yelled. They both charged toward the pulsating light, not looking back. As the darkness surged forward, the dolls' eyes ignited with a blazing brightness, one by one. The figures around them screamed in agony as they began to dissolve. "Mama, I'm scared." Mia cried, but Sarah squeezed her hand tighter. "Hold on." Just as they reached the boundary of the light, a chilling wail shattered the air. The grinning figure lunged, but they burst through the veil into a different realm, the familiar hall of the hospital, the warm yellow glow illuminating their way. Yet behind them, a shadow lingered at the threshold, waiting, watching. Had they escaped, or had they only postponed the inevitable? "What happens now?" Sarah whispered, breathless and terrified as she scanned their surroundings. "Mommy?" Mia's eyes clouded, uncertainty flickering in them. "Did we really leave?" And in the distance, the dark whisper of the figure echoed, fading into the recesses of her mind. You can never truly escape. As Sarah's stomach twisted with dread, she realized they were not done yet. Shadows still stretched behind them, beckoning with silent promises. Soon, the night would call again, and she could only wonder who would answer first. The hospital's sterile walls, once a source of hope, now pulsed with an eerie presence. Sarah could feel the air thickening. It clung to her skin, suffocatingly familiar yet distinctly wrong. Her heart thudded in her chest like a wildly malfunctioning drum, each pulse a reminder of the consuming darkness that had chased them through the other realm. "Mama, I want to go home." Mia's voice was small, trembling like a fragile leaf in the wind. Sarah felt her throat tighten, but she forced a smile. "We will. I promise, baby." But as she spoke, uncertainty gnawed at her insides. They had escaped, but at what cost? The shadow lingering at the threshold sent shivers racing down her spine. She spun around, trying to shake off the sense of being watched. "Just stay close. We need to find a way out." The fluorescent lights flickered above, casting long, darting shadows that made her jump. They moved through the empty corridors, the once bustling hospital now silent as a grave. Each step echoed like a death knell. The air, cold and damp, sounded almost like muffled whispers, taunting her with the thought that she was never truly alone. "Mommy," Mia tugged at her sleeve, wide-eyed. "Why is it so quiet?" "It's late. Everyone's gone to sleep," Sarah replied, her voice strained with forced calm. Yet she couldn't shake the feeling that they were not alone. They turned a corner to find a broken vending machine, its glass shattered. Lonely candy bars sat amidst a mess of crumpled papers, as if abandoned in haste. Sarah hesitated, glancing back as the darkness loomed ever closer, whispered promises lingering just out of reach. "Please, let us hurry," Mia murmured, clutching Sarah's hand tightly. They pressed on, weaving through a series of eerily silent rooms. Each door they passed felt like a mouth, dark and gaping, hinting at secrets buried deep within. What if we go in one? Maybe we can call for help. Mia suggested, glancing fearfully into one room. No, we need to keep moving, Sarah insisted, but she couldn't shake the curiosity threatening to overtake her. What if they were missing something vital? Just then, a loud crash echoed behind them. Sarah spun around, heart racing. What was that? I don't know, but I want to go home. Mia squeaked again, eyes darting nervously, shadows seeming to writhe against the wall. They turned to flee when Sarah caught a glimpse of something fleeting out of the corner of her eye, an unnatural movement, a flurry of dark shapes creeping among the shadows. Fear bloomed in her chest. Run! She shouted. They sprinted down the corridor, the sound of their footsteps the only thing cutting through the deepening silence. The walls felt closer, like a serpentine embrace, tightening around them. It was as if the building itself was alive, hungry for their fear. Mommy, I'm so scared. Mia sobbed, tears streaming down her cheeks. I know, Mia. I know, Sarah gasped, forcing herself to keep moving despite her legs feeling like lead. Every time they thought they were gaining ground, the chill in the air deepened, the shadows grew thick. The whispers grew louder. They skidded to a halt in front of an old, rusted elevator. The door hung open, revealing darkness beyond. Static filled the air, sending another wave of dread spiraling through Sarah. Do we go in? She asked hesitantly, then instantly regretted showing any doubt. We have to, Mia insisted, desperation in her voice. It might take us downstairs. Okay. Sarah took a deep breath and stepped inside, bracing herself against the walls, pulling Mia close. She pushed the button for the ground floor. The doors slid shut with a groan, and the elevator lurched downward. Mommy, it's going too fast. Mia clung to her side, eyes wide with terror. Just hold on, Sarah urged. She could feel the air thickening, the familiar chill creeping back in. As the descent continued, the lights flickered ominously, and shadows twisted behind them, reaching for the two of them. The whispers swelled into a cacophony. You can't escape, you belong to us. In a heartbeat, the elevator jolted to a stop, pitching them forward. The doors opened with a clang, revealing another dimly lit corridor lined with faces. Dolls, eerily reminiscent of the wraiths, stared blankly back at her. Mama! Look! Mia screamed, pointing at the dolls. From their eyes, she could almost feel the weight of silent screams about to erupt. Sarah barely noticed, her instincts screamed for her to run. They dashed into the unknown, confusion and raw fear propelling them forward. But the darkness behind wasn't done yet. The shadows writhed, moving closer, reaching out like long, skeletal fingers craving warmth. Get away from us! Sarah yelled, launching herself ahead, but the whispers crescendoed around them. You will never be free. As reality twisted around them, Sarah's heart sank. If these dolls were more than they seemed, if they represented the souls eternally trapped, what claim would they have over her and Mia? Mommy! Mia pulled at Sarah's sleeve, her voice small but filled with panic. What if we can't leave? What if they take us, too? Sarah clenched her jaw, unwilling to entertain that thought. We will find a way, she promised, even as doubt filled her mind like a thick fog. Behind them, the figure lingered still, a puppet master at the heart of this dark game. Unseen hands reeling, ready to strike at the heart of their fear, and with courage quickly losing its grip, Sarah realized the path ahead might be the darkest yet. The doll's eyes seemed to follow them, glinting with an unsettling awareness. Each step they took echoed through the narrow corridor, blending with the whispers that danced around them. It felt as if the walls themselves were breathing, the air heavy with dread. Sarah kept pushing Mia forward, her heart racing, terror clawing at her chest. Mommy, what are those things? Mia's question barely broke the quiet, but it was laden with fear, drawing Sarah's focus. I don't know, honey, but we can't stop, Sarah replied, trying to control the tremor in her voice. Her instincts yelled to turn back, to flee, but the shifting shadows left her no choice. They pressed on, the darkness hanging behind them like a predator poised to pounce. As they rounded another corner, the corridor opened up into a vast room. Flickering lights dimly illuminated the periphery, revealing an empty waiting room furnished with decaying chairs and an old reception desk. Earthen smells mingled with stale air, the scent of neglect thickening the atmosphere. "Stay close," Sarah whispered, her heart pounding. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from behind them, making both girls jump. "Did you hear that?" Mia gasped, eyes wide, fear tightening her grip on her mother's hand. "Shoo!" Sarah held her finger to her lips, straining to listen. The low whispers had returned, a chorus of sorrow that vibrated through the walls. "We need to move," she urged, scanning the room for exits. They dashed toward a door marked with peeling paint, but as Sarah reached for the handle, it swung open on its own. The dim light beyond pulsed, beckoning, like an insatiable void. "Mama! I don't like this," Mia whimpered. However, the darkness clamored for them. Sarah knew they had no choice. Together they took a hesitant step inside, the door closing behind them with a definitive thud. The air was different here, electric. A long hallway stretched out with flickering lights that barely managed to keep the dark at bay. The floor was slick beneath their feet, and Sarah could feel moisture seeping through her shoes, ice cold. "Mama, I want to go back." Mia's voice shook. "Just a bit further, we'll be okay," Sarah lied, desperation thrumming in her veins. They hurried along the corridor, each footstep amplified, creating a rhythm in the eerie silence. Whispered voices escalated in volume, swirling into a frenzy that was suffocating. Sarah fought the instinct to cover her ears. It felt as if the building itself had come alive, hungry for their fear, raucous in the pursuit to break them. Sarah stumbled to a stop as an ominous shape flickered in the distance. Shadows morphed and coalesced at the end of the hall, taking on a form not unlike that of the dolls. They seemed more alive now, interconnected, limbs twitching as if in a dance of madness. Every flicker brought forth more faces, contorted in agony, an endless parade of trapped souls begging for release. "No! Don't look!" Sarah shouted, shaking Mia's shoulders gently. "We have to keep moving." But Mia was frozen to the spot, staring wide-eyed at the horror unfolding. "Mama! They're sad. What if they just want to be our friends?" The thought twisted in Sarah's mind, a grotesque illusion that threatened to upend them. She pulled Mia's hand, but it felt like dragging her through molasses. Fearing what would happen next, Sarah let out an impatient breath and turned fiercely towards her daughter. "Listen. We have to leave. Now." They turned to run, but it was already too late. A low growl reverberated through the floor, making them both falter. The dolls' faces transformed, contorting into smiles far too wide and sinister, their hollow laughter filling the hallway like a sickening melody. "Mama, they want," Mia whimpered. "Run!" Sarah screamed, and they sprinted down the corridor, the laughter echoing behind them. They barreled through the hall, the whispers morphing into anguished shrieks, urging them forth. "You cannot escape us. You belong to us." Just as they reached an intersection, a blinding light poured from the room to the right. Hope surged in Sarah's chest. She jerked Mia toward it, the light promising safety. But as they stepped inside, the door slammed shut behind them, trapping them in a new chamber filled with shadows. "Mama!" Mia cried, but her voice was swallowed by the thick dark. "Stay close!" Sarah called into the deepening void. They stood on the threshold of something unknown, dread curling around them like a cold embrace. And as the shadows shifted, a reflection flickered in the corner of Sarah's eye, a doll, its face eerily similar to Mia's, watching from the darkness, eyes glinting with malice. "Turn back!" The whispers twisted through the room as Sarah's heart sank. There was no escape in sight. Where were they now, really? And how long until the dolls and their owners claimed them as their own? Just ahead, a haunting giggle echoed, chilling Sarah's blood. The darkness yawned wide, inviting her to step deeper, but what waited inside? Mia tugged on Sarah's sleeve, her tiny fingers trembling. "Mommy, It's scared. I can feel it. The darkness enveloping them felt alive, pulsating with a malevolent energy. Every breath became laborious, weighted by a suffocating dread that churned in Sarah's stomach. I know, sweetheart, she murmured, forcing her voice to appear steady. But we have to keep going. We can't stop. They moved deeper into the shadowy chamber, the space expanding, walls bending in on themselves as if the place was warping reality. What lay ahead was a shadowy throne at the center of the room, encircled by hanging drapes that looked like tendrils reaching out to snare them. A gut-wrenching laugh echoed again, more sinister this time, as though it knew them, as if it fed on their fear. The dolls, those terrible things, continued to skitter around the frayed edges of Sarah's perception, darting in and out of distorted shadows, their faces reflected in the glint of Mia's frightened eyes. Mama, I feel funny, Mia whispered, her voice quaking. Sarah pulled her closer, the little girl's heartbeat thudding against her side, syncing with her own frantic pulse. Just hold on to me, she said, but uncertainty gnawed at her. The light flickered erratically, teasing glimpses of far darker horrors threatening to reveal themselves. And then, without warning, the walls began to hum, a low eerie sound rising to a fever pitch. Shadows danced violently, and Sarah could see now, countless eyes were watching from every crevice, every corner. It was a parade of lost souls, aching and yearning, hungry for release. Mama! Mia cried out, terror pouring from her gaze. Close your eyes. Sarah commanded, her heart racing as she spun to face the entrance they had just ventured through. But it was gone. A wall of shadow had replaced it, smooth and impenetrable. Panic surged through her veins, a detonating bomb of fear. We're trapped. They're coming. Mia screamed. Sarah's gaze shot back to the throne. In the flickering light, she saw a collective. The dolls had taken form, now encircled in a grotesque fashion, arms reaching out wantonly. They were dancing a wicked jig, faces morphing into a nightmarish array, melding into one another, a twisted tapestry of longing. A smile spread across one doll's face, impossibly wide and dripping like honey, leaching into the crevices of the dark floor. Join us, it cooed, the voice a haunting symphony of whispers mixed with childish giggles. Mia, we need to fight. Sarah urged, her instincts raging against the mounting terror. I need you to help me. Think of something to make us strong. Mia's fear seemed to shift subtly as her thoughts churned. Like we'll be brave. Yes. We will be brave. Sarah shouted, staring down the dolls. We will resist. They clasped hands, Sarah steadying her breath as she tried to focus on the warmth of Mia's palm, letting it anchor her in the swirling chaos. The dolls paused, as if taken aback by their declaration. Mama, they don't like it. Mia whispered, and just like that, the air turned electric with a scream synchronized among the shadows. It pierced through their resolve, cutting up the essence of bravery they had just mustered. They'll take us. Mia shrieked, with desperation consuming her. Sarah lunged forward, dragging Mia with her. They barreled toward the throne, feeling the shadows claw at their backs, angry and alive. The dolls erupted into a cacophony of rage, their hands grasping for Sarah's hair, her clothing, each swipe a warning that this would not end well. Just as they reached the throne, a figure emerged from behind it, a tall, gaunt creature wrapped in tattered remnants of a coat, face obscured by long strands of hair. It moved with a grace that was terrifying, hungry for their fear. Your souls will be ours. It hissed, its voice an echo of the whispers. Mama! Mia cried, freezing at the sight. But Sarah's instincts kicked in. No, you won't. She screamed, her voice cracking the very air around them. In that moment, the dolls lunged. She pushed Mia behind her, ready to fight or to take the shadows with her. But as they reached for her, time slowed. Each second felt like an eternity, the air thickening around them. And then, they crashed against the malevolent wave, plunging into the abyss of dark laughter that swallowed them whole. In darkness, screams fell silent, and the world faded to stark black. Suddenly, a flicker of light emerged, cutting through the void. Hope. Or a trap? What lay on the other side? Sarah braced herself and Mia, daring to step forward into the brilliance, as another giggle echoed this time, from within the light itself. "Stay close," she whispered, but trepidation knotted in her gut. What awaited them? Was it freedom or something worse? A soft voice beckoned, "Play with us," and those words hung eerily as they crossed the threshold, chilling them to the core. The world inverted as Sarah and Mia stumbled through the blinding light, the laughter echoing in their ears like a sinister nursery rhyme. One moment they were cloaked in shadows, then brightness. Not a comforting light, but one laced with the dread of the unknown. The air buzzed, static with energy that made the tiny hairs on Sarah's arms stand on end. "What is this place?" Mia's voice quivered, and the raw innocence of her question sent a fresh wave of panic crashing through Sarah. "I don't know, but we need to find a way out," she replied, scanning their surroundings. They stood on a smooth surface, more polished than any tile she'd ever seen. It felt cold, unsettling against her skin. The giggles continued, swirling around them, sweet yet unhinged. Shapes danced along the edges of the light, flitting just beyond their sight. Sarah gripped Mia's hand tighter, her heart pounding in her chest. "Focus, Mia. Stay with me," she urged. Gradually, the blinding light receded to reveal a twisted carnival. Bright colors clashed with eerie shadows, as if joy had been warped into a twisted version of itself. Rides loomed overhead, distorted and creaky, while stalls promising fun stood abandoned, with remnants of faded banners fluttering in a cold breeze. Sarah glanced at the towering Ferris wheel, its cages swinging slowly, each one empty and swaying, as if ghosts still rode high. Suddenly, the laughter intensified, becoming an unsettling chorus. From the deep shadows between the stalls emerged figures clown-like dolls, faces painted unnaturally bright, eyes hollow, yet aware. They wore mismatched outfits and grinned with wide, stretched smiles that seemed painful. "What do you want?" Sarah shouted, her voice trembling, realizing both her own fear and Mia's were magnified in the presence of these twisted spirits. "Play with us," they sang in unison, their voices harmonizing into a dissonant melody that resonated deep within Sarah's core. The terrified echo of those words sent shivers down her spine. "No. We don't want to play," Mia shouted, stepping forward. It was a brave step, but also foolish. Sarah pulled her back, fear slashing through her. If they didn't run, they might be pulled into this nightmarish realm forever. As the dolls advanced, the atmosphere shifted. The air thickened, reeking of stale popcorn and something more rancid that made Sarah gag. The laughter once light-hearted turned menacing, filled with dark undertones that vibrated with malice. "We'll show you the games, so many games," they chimed, eyes narrowing and shifting in the light. "Mama!" Mia cried, her little voice rising above the cacophony. "I don't like it." "Neither do I," Sarah replied urgently. "But we have to keep moving. Look, over there." She pointed at a path that diverged from the twisted stalls. It led to what appeared to be an archway of cracked neon lights flickering as if they barely hung on, but bright enough to guide them away from the chilling laughter. Gripping Mia's hand tighter, they pulled away from the advancing dolls and sprinted toward the archway, the malicious laughter morphing into howls of outrage behind them. "Stop!" the dolls cried, their voices merging into one, a cacophony of childish rage. "You can't leave!" They burst through the archway, plunging into another world. This one was darker yet eerily calm, bathed in shadows that whispered secrets. The laughter faded, replaced by a low hum that resonated from the walls. But they didn't have a moment to breathe. Ahead lay a long, narrow corridor stretching endlessly, lit sporadically by ghostly blue flames. "Mama, I want to go home," Mia whimpered, tears glistening in her frightened eyes. The innocence of her face contrasted with the terrifying uncertainty around them. "I know, sweetheart," Sarah whispered, her heart a chaotic storm. "But we can't give up." We just have to find a way out. At that moment, the hum intensified, and dark figures emerged from the walls, shifting and swirling around them. Sarah felt a prickle of cold dread creep up her spine. What were these dark shapes? Were they spirits lost? Souls like the dolls meant to ensnare them? The corridor reverberated with the sound of whispers, each voice distinct, yet collectively eerie. "Join us." Mia clung to her tighter, and fear bubbled in Sarah's chest. They had to keep moving, but where could they go in this twisted nightmare? Just then, the ground trembled beneath them, casting them both to their knees. Tremors spread outward as the corridor appeared to breathe, alive with something hungry. "Run!" Sarah screamed, urging Mia to her feet. They dashed down the whispering path, heart racing, breath quickening, as shadows threatened to swallow them whole. What path lay ahead, and would they survive what lurked in the depths? With each step, the unholy laughter echoed again, more menacing than before, and the corridor seemed to shift like a living predator. What awaited them at the end, and would they truly escape this sinister carnival of souls? The corridor stretched endlessly before them, shadows curling like serpents at their feet. Sarah's heart hammered wildly against her ribcage, a frantic drum signaling fear. "We have to keep moving," she urged, pulling Mia along, though the weight of dread clung to them like fog. Just ahead, flickers of light danced along the walls, drawing her eyes. Sickly hues of green and orange pulsed like a heartbeat. The ground beneath quaked with anticipation, a reminder that the shadows did not sleep. They waited, eager to ensnare them in their web of despair. Each footstep echoed, turning their escape into a taunting melody of panic. "Mommy!" Mia squeaked, an edge of terror stringing her voice tight. "Where are we going? I don't want to play anymore." Her words sliced Sarah's heart. "I know, baby, I know." But what could she say? The weight of their situation pressed down hard, and doubt gnawed at her possibilities. They pushed onward, the corridor narrowing, closing in. An unseen wind whispered through the darkness, wrapping around them, tugging at their very souls. Glancing back, shadows flickered in the distance, eyes glimmering with malicious hunger. They moved closer, invisibly inching, grasping. "What if we can't escape?" Mia's innocent question shattered Sarah's resolve like fragile glass. "We will. I promise," she responded, forcing courage into her cracked voice. But as they ran, Sarah felt the air grow thick, suffocating, a suffocating promise of what awaited if they faltered. And then they faced it. A door loomed ahead, grotesque and gnarled. It trembled as if alive, adorned with symbols that mirrored those from the mural deep in the hospital. "This is it." Sarah gasped, forcing herself to believe it was the answer to their prayers. They reached for the handle, but it pulsed with an icy dread. "No. Wait!" Mia cried, yanking back. "I don't think we should. Trust me." Sarah pleaded, her own instincts screeching warnings. With a determined push, she swung the door open, only to be met with blinding light. They stumbled through, disorientation crashing over them like a wave. Sarah shielded Mia from the brilliance, leveraging her body between her daughter and whoever may lie just beyond. Their eyes adjusted, revealing a vast, sunlit park, a stark contrast from the horrors they had just escaped. Lush trees swayed gently in the breeze, children laughing and playing, blissfully unaware of the darkness they had left behind. Breathless with disbelief, Sarah fell to her knees, pulling Mia into her embrace, holding her tightly. "We made it, we're free," she whispered against her daughter's hair, warmth flooding back to the edges of her heart, but then quiet crept in with the realization. "Mommy," Mia whispered again, lifting her gaze to the surrounding facades. "What if it comes back?" In that moment, Sarah felt it, a chill that swept through the park, a subtle stirring of shadows retreating beneath the trees. "It's over," she insisted, forcing herself to believe it. "We're okay now." But how easily she could remember the laughter, the wicked playfulness that teased them from the corners of her mind. Yet, as they pulled away, Sarah caught movement at the edge of her vision, a glimpse of a grinning doll beneath the shade of the trees, watching, waiting. Fear curved her spine, but she turned, shielding Mia from the haunting sight, determined they wouldn't return to that life. "Let us go home, baby," Sarah said, her heart heavy. "We're going home." They turned away, walking away from the laughter of darkness and the call of unanswered fears, leaving the shadows behind. But still, an echo whispered in the distance. "You'll return." As they stepped into the sunlight, the shadows faded into whispers, traces of the carnival still clinging to their thoughts. Deep inside, the city bustling around them seemed normal on the surface, but Sarah felt the weight of unease follow like a shadow. Time would unravel, and the darkness of that night would linger yet. Sarah took Mia's hand tighter, glancing ahead, determined to banish the nightmares and uncover the truths without losing one another. And as they wove through the crowd of New York, she knew they hadn't escaped unscathed. The remnants of fear tasted bitter on her tongue, but together, they would fight, moving forward into the unknown with the understanding that sometimes, the shadows would linger, not always to haunt, but to remind them of the strength they found in each other. As they stepped into the warmth of the sun, Sarah promised herself something vital. She would never let the shadows claim them again. You need to subscribe now. Don't wait even one more second to join our journey and ensure you won't miss our next spine-chilling story. Smash that like button now to help spread the word and feed the algorithm that supports our community. You are a part of this adventure. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and reactions about this ending. We want to hear your theories. And finally, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to discover the hidden secrets too. This is the moment to show your support.